shiny, it's because it's kind of warm today. I don't have the AC on. I have a fan blowing right at me, but even with the fan, oh my goodness, it's kind of warm. But anyway, so I wanted to make this stream. It's about how I buy items and this whole thing. Uh, let's see. I had a bad night. Is all okay? Let me read. Hold up. Hold up. Uh, if you had a bad night's sleep, try and get better sleep today. If you didn't sleep well, I find that normally I take a what's my call it, a nap in between the day. Sometimes I'll take a nap at 3 p.m. and Lewis is like, "Oh my goodness, Erica, you're taking a nap?" I'm like, "Yeah, I stayed up until 5 a.m. or so." So I wanted to make this video. I had a conversation with Lewis yesterday. I told him about my uncle, and I know some people are like, "Erica, you keep talking about your uncle. Hear me out. Hear me out." He had a life that I had no idea, like how wise he was with his finances. So, backstory about my uncle: he had worked for a computer company, for about 30 years, and I found out he was a software engineer. So, he had definite seniority in that company. And with the money he made, he decided to be frugal. So, when he passed away, he amassed like I would say like a shocking amount of money. I was actually genuinely shocked. And it was because he was very frugal. Now, if you had seen how he lived, he didn't look bummy. He basically lived in athletic clothes, like like one of the tank tops, but it's kind of like like the Nike kind of tank tops with the athletic shorts. And most of the time when I saw him, he was wearing slippers or flip flops, so kind of casually dressed. He invested in his fitness, so he always went to the YMCA. No, he did not go to any posh place at all. He could afford it, but he chose not to. The home that he lived in was from what I was told, a rundown house that was about $200,000. He could have definitely afforded a much better home, but he had bought a home around like 19 like the late 1980s, and he stayed in that home. And yeah, he decided to just save his money, invest his money, and that way when he retired, he would be able to live comfortably. Now, I'm not going to say the sum, but I mean, like, I just thought, like, wow, this is way more than comfortably, in my opinion. And yeah, so with that, although, I'm feeling better about it, I'm feeling stronger about it, I like to share this stuff with you guys because I want to share how he lived, because for him to have financial freedom and just know, like, hey, if I lose my job, like, I'm okay. A lot of people, I find, right, they're spending paycheck to paycheck, and they save up money for, let's say, luxury goods, or they don't really think about, you know, saving as much as they focus more on spending rather than saving. A lot of I think about the way society is, and the way society is, it's just always like buy, 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 buy. When is the next sale? When is the semi-annual sale? And that's not how I think people should live life. I want all of you to just look back and say, you know what, if I lose my job, it's not going to be that great, but at least I have an emergency fund. At least I can maybe take off a month or two, or 2 years or 3 years from work, and I'll be completely fine. It might not be, the best. It might not be like, eating like luxury items all the time, or eating, you know, expensive, like going out to eating out, but you'll find that you'll be okay. And I think it's very freeing. So I grew up around people who were very frugal. My family is frugal, my neighbor's frugal. The people that I dated tend to be frugal as well. Like, as you guys know, right? Lewis always says that he's very frugal, and yeah, he is frugal. He's very mindful about the way that he spends, and that's good because he has that ability to say, okay, well, I'll spend my money on this, but I'll try to look at the affordable option. So my uncle had a computer. Oh, by the way, the little robot's going off. The little robot that I found for free, in case anybody of you guys have never watched my stream before, that little robot I found for free on the sidewalk. I cleaned it up, got it repaired. Lewis helped me with soldering because I accidentally broke it. And yeah, it works well, and I'm really, really happy about it. So My uncle, he had this Asus computer, I believe. I think it was Asus, and he had it for about 4 years. It was like this crappy little, and I say that in the most blunt way possible. It was this crappy little computer about this big to this big, and he used it. I don't think that was his main work computer, but he used it, and it looked like it was falling apart. Like honestly, like if I had this computer, I would have tossed it a long time ago. Like, oh, this looks like the hinge. Like it looked like it had some kind of hinge issue. But my uncle had that kind of mindset. He was like, hey, you know what? If it still works, I just want a basic computer. I'm going to use it. So it's like he cheaped out on himself, but it wasn't like he felt like he was punishing himself. Okay. So he had two properties. So my grandma in Hawaii, I did not know this, but he bought my grandma an apartment in Hawaii. He paid it off fully, and he was paying for the maintenance, and the maintenance is like over $1,000 a month. So he chose to live below what he could afford because he had that mindset. Well, I don't need to live like a lavish lifestyle. Again, my uncle could have afforded a Lamborghini. I was so surprised because I thought, wow, he lived. Imagine having like this beat up computer, and then in your bank account you can comfortably afford a Lamborghini. It was really. I mean, like not just one Lamborghini, like several Lamborghinis. But that's the kind of thing. So for him, he saved his money. He he did not, like, I know with the laptop thing it sounds really bad, but like the clothes that he wore, it was durable clothing. I never saw him with like holes on his clothing. It was always kind of like the dry fit clothing, it's like the ones that last a really long time. I mean, dry fit clothing or that like athletic clothes, it doesn't pill, it doesn't really get holes in it. It's very durable, it's quick drying. You don't have to worry about let's say color fading. I have a several athletic kind of clothing, and it's a couple years old and you really can't tell. So he spent his money on items that he anticipated he would keep for a number of years, and it brought him financial security. And he, again, like his mindset with money, in my opinion, money, what is BlackBerry doing? Money is not one of those things where he had to think too much about it. Like, yes, he wanted to grow his money, but it's not like he sleeps at night, he worries about having debt, because he's in a financially free place. So he had invested for a number of years, and I'm assuming because he was in tech, right? It's probably tech stock, but I could be assuming wrong. So imagine having, let's say, Microsoft for 20 years and that kind of stuff. It's just like very, very inspiring. And I've shared in my previous stream, I've known people who have invested for like 20 years, 30 years, and they don't make that much money, but they have a lot of money because they let their money grow for them, right? Instead of buying like this stupid luxury item that a person can't afford, they say, let me make my money grow for me. And so going back to the stream, I wanted to do just give you like a few examples of like how you can have like quality items, but you can save a lot of money. So one thing that I use this BioClean all-purpose cleaner. And you might be like, Erica, why the hell are you talking about this all-purpose cleaner? Okay, so I had purchased this item in September 2020. And you could say like, oh wow, Erica, this is so like, well, you're buying this like all-purpose grapefruit seed orange essence cleaning power. I think this is about $14. But look how little I use. Do you see that? So that means in 1 year, I barely used any of it. All I do is I have this like little piece of masking tape here, and I fill it up to there because they say you can do 1 to 2 cups, 1 to 2 capfuls, like small little capfuls here, for 1 gallon of water. And I don't put it in a gallon of water. I actually put it in the spray bottle. I recommend reusing spray bottles. This is a spray bottle. This is a bottle from the store, and then I think the sprayer was purchased, but I'm not too sure. Maybe I just got it from somewhere around the apartment. Like one of those like cleaning bottles that you have. It comes with the nozzle. You just rinse it out. So something like this, you make one purchase, and it looks like I would genuinely say for the next 12 years, we probably don't have to buy a cleaner because I bought this item. So let me see what the price of this item is because I don't have it up right now. It was under $15. I know that. I know that people would say, well, why don't you use vinegar and water? I don't like it too much. I don't like the smell of it. Okay, so this 32 ounce container, see how small it is? It will make 32 gallons of cleaner. 32 gallons of cleaner for $12.57. Now, if you want to buy more, of course, if you buy a bigger size, it'll be cheaper. So if you look at the Amazon link, $14.67 for, and it comes down to 0.23 fluid ounce. So, right, you could get double the price for only $2 more. And I think that's a really good deal. I know too many people, in my opinion, right, they buy these cleaners and they buy like the $7 cleaner, like the one all-purpose like plant cleaner, and I'm like, why are you spending so much freaking money on plant cleaner? Just get a concentrate, put it in a freaking spray bottle, and that way you never have to buy cleaner, at least for a number of years. See, not see how little that was. So that's the kind of purchase that I like to make. I buy it once and I don't have to deal with it. So when I go shopping, you won't see me have to buy obviously spray cleaner because we already have the spray cleaner at home, and that helps save a lot of money. Another thing that I like to do for buying things is I like to make sure that I have quality. So the tripod that I use, and I have it linked in the description, the tripod that I use was $23.99. Now, one trick for Amazon is instead of buying new, if you scroll down, you'll see new and used for $14.17. So Amazon warehouse, a lot of this stuff is like scratch and dent or it's returns. So I mean, like for a tripod, like nobody gives a crap if my tripod has a little scratch on it, right? You don't even see my tripod. So I personally would buy the Amazon warehouse and save $9 because a tripod just holds the item. If you are YouTubing or if you're recording a video, no one's gonna look at your tripod. No one's gonna care. I mean, you could have dropped this tripod on the ground on concrete and boom, it ends up with the scratch. So I try to make sure that, hey, the items that I get is quality items, it's affordable, and I want to use it for a long time. So the tripod that I got, it's the UB size, the 51 extendable tripod. I think we lost the remote, but we don't use a remote anyway. That tripod comes with a little plastic piece over here. And I'm going to be honest with you, this thing eventually breaks. You know that cheap Chinese plastic? See, it's kind of like this thing over here. So what I did is that when my tripod, this head broke, I removed it. So you can unscrew it over here. And I bought an aluminum tripod head, which is also linked in the description. So instead of being able to like do this, you have to like screw it, and then I just kind of keep it fixated at a certain side and I slide it in. And that tripod head will last me forever. As long as I use a smartphone, it's gonna fit in there. So I don't have to worry about replacing the tripod head. This tripod head will most likely break. And when it does break, I'll buy that aluminum mount that I perceive to be a forever mount. So this person, the reason why I have this tripod is I found it in a recycle bin. Yes, I do open recycle bins. Like I'll just walk past a recycle bin and then I'll just flip past it. And I saw this tripod, this exact tripod in here, in the recycle bin. Now it had a foot issue over here. I don't know if you guys can see it. So I did a repair over here. If you guys have been following my stream, I told you, hey, I tried gluing it with Elmer's glue. That didn't work. I tried using this like plastic glue that was for scenic decorations. Like that didn't work. It was too sticky. It wasn't strong enough. So I went to Dollar Tree. I went to Dollar Tree and I decided to buy super glue. Now they had different kind of glues, but I looked at the back and they had a gel version. Let me show you guys this one. I don't know if you guys can see it. Okay, so they have a gel version and they have a liquid version. And they say the best one to use is the original version versus the gel. So I thought, hey, you know what? $1 for 2 of these. Maybe I could get super glue cheaper, but I said, hey, you know what? 50 cents for each one. I don't use super glue that often. Let me buy this. So I bought it and then I held it for about 15 seconds and guess what? It works. See, my tripod thing works. So that fixed the leg. But what I noticed is that for this tripod, It's the UB size. It's the same one that I have that I'm holding my camera with. This one, it was missing this screw. So you see this screw over here? It has this little screw so that way it holds it in place. So I thought about it and I thought, hey, you know what? Let me get a piece of elastic and just hold it there, right? So instead of like, let's say I want to make it or like here, since I have this piece of plastic that's knotted around, that holds it in place. See? It's not, I know people would say, oh, you know, it's not the most aesthetic. I probably should use black, but yeah, this was gray. And yeah, I just cut it off an old piece of clothing and I thought this worked really well. So see? So this is the kind of thing that I like to do. I like to repair things and I like to make sure like, hey, let me see if I can get more use for it. So instead of buying a brand new tripod with with let's say my $1 super glue, and I only use like 2 drops. This is gonna last me a really, really long time. Assuming it doesn't dry out, I was able to salvage this little tripod. It did take me some time. I think I've had this for about a month, and it wasn't a high priority for me to get the super glue. So when I went to Dollar Tree a few days ago, I thought like this is the time I'm gonna go get the super glue. And today in the morning, I thought, okay, well let me figure out a solution because this thing keeps. If I don't have this elastic, look, it falls down, right? So putting this elastic, since it's soft, it just holds it in place. So it works really well and it just holds my phone. So of course, right, you want to repair your items because if you repair it, you don't have to buy another tripod. You don't have to spend $23 for this tripod or $14, and yeah, you save things from the landfill. So you can think of yourself as being very environmentally friendly. This is like one of those like small little projects. So I like sometimes having little projects around. I consider it to be a hobby. So it wasn't like I was thinking like, oh, I gotta fix this like right away. It's like, okay, you know, when I get around to it, you know, I'll focus on that. But it's like doing a crossword puzzle or something like that. So the other thing that I would recommend is, of course, if you can get things, try to get them cheaper. So I've shared with you guys, I'm on this whole thing, and I know Lewis is gonna be like rolling his eyes, organizing. And, you know, it's not like that big of a deal, but for instance, we have a cabinet where we have a bunch of computer stuff and tools. And and headphone stuff, see? So I originally kept it inside of a cardboard box like this. It's just an Amazon box, see? Just a plain Amazon box. I put a Post-it on here. It irritated me after about 1.5 years of usage because it was all like mismatched and I was thinking, oh, I hate this. So when I went to Dollar Tree, I thought like, hey, let me get some shoebox organizers. Dollar Tree is a place where everything is $1. So I found these file folder labels and I got a shoebox. So instead of my items being in here, now it's in here. See, doesn't it look so much more organized? And this cost me $1 for the bin, and I get like 120 labels for $1, so 1 cent, right? 1 cent for the label, so $1.01 about. And yeah, so by doing this kind of stuff, by building all these habits where I try to be, you know, frugal and I try to be resourceful, it becomes like a way of life. Some people might see this from the outside and be like, dang, Erica like hyper focuses on this stuff. But no, to be real, I don't have to think about a freaking cleaner because I already have this cleaner. So when I go to the store and I see a cleaner for, let's say, 50% off or like $2 off for an all-purpose, do you think I'm going to buy it? No, I'm going to say I'm just going to use what I have. I don't have to leave the apartment to get a cleaner. And this kind of cleaner, like, do not underestimate it. I use it for everything. I use it like when the cats puke. I use it to clean. If I'm like cleaning dust off, I use it to clean. If I spill something on the table, I use it to clean. It's really great. The reviews are good, and I like it because it doesn't have any chemicals. Now, I'm not one of those people who's like a germaphobe where I say I have to Lysol everything around the apartment. And yeah, I think it's like perfectly fine. So all that kind of stuff really does add up. And even like coffee that I have, you guys can't see it, but I have like this, I bought this Monin chocolate syrup, which is one of the highest rated syrups. It's not the cheapest one, but it's about like $7 for a squeeze, I make coffee and I honestly use instant coffee because I mean, like I have coffee grounds, but I'm like, I like using instant. So I have a Keurig and I let the water go right through it. And then I put one and a half teaspoons of water with 1.5 teaspoons of coffee grounds, about 8 ounces of water. And then, yeah, I drizzle some chocolate syrup on the bottom. And then I put a little bit of evaporated milk. I use black and white evaporated milk. They tend to like that kind of brand in China. That's what I heard. Like for milk tea, that's like the brand to get. So I use that, and then I mix it up, and then usually I put usually I either wait for it to cool down or I drink it warmer. I put an ice cube or two inside of that, and yeah, I save a lot of money because I don't buy coffee. I mean, I do buy coffee, but I don't go to the store and pay $4 for a cup of coffee. I know some people are against the idea of using a Keurig, but it's so handy. I use it every day. I use it, like I said, I use it. I put water through it, and then I'll put like a tea bag in the cup, and then the water just goes right through the Keurig in the tea in the cup, and yeah. So I wake up and I just make a cup of coffee, or I make some tea throughout the day, and yeah, it's just like you just fill it up, press a button, and ta-da! Save so much money. Save so much money. So if you wanna, let's say, be more financially secure, you really should keep your finances in check. You really should say, okay, well, let me try to figure out ways to be more cost savings and try to you don't have to buy the cheapest stuff. Like I said, right? I don't look for the cheapest item. I look for the best value. I look for the item where I can have this for a number of years and I don't have to replace it. And again, when this thing breaks, I'm going to move it to an aluminum mount. The aluminum mount, if you look in the description, it costs about, I think, yeah, the aluminum mount itself costs $15. So most normal people would say, hey, if I don't have this mount, or if it breaks, I'm gonna toss the whole thing. But my thinking is like just like repairing a part for a computer, why don't you just replace the mount and then go for a premium mount, so that way you never have to spend time thinking about replacing the freaking phone mount part, this part, for the rest of your life ideally. Like, yeah, so this kind of stuff, I do it and then I just forget about it. I have zero desire to buy another tripod. I have zero desire to buy another tripod mount after, if this one breaks, I replace it with the aluminum, because the aluminum one's not going to break at all. And so, yeah, it's affordable in my opinion. I've used this to stream many, many times, and cost per use, right? I try to keep my cost per use of items $1 or less. So every time I use this, right? Okay, so this was basically, let's just say $1 because of the super glue. I use this once, it pays for itself. I've already actually used this once for a stream, if I remember correctly. Well, it was kind of wonky, but yeah, so that kind of stuff, as long as it's $1 a use, or you feel like you're going to use it to the point where it's $1 a use, I don't have any guilt about buying something, or spending money on that kind of stuff, or spending money on a repair, because yeah, it's really good. And I want to surround myself with items that are durable. I don't want to surround myself with cheap crap, cheap crap that you buy just to have it because it's cheap. I think that if you just buy cheap items and you don't like screen things, then you find yourself living in a place where it's like, wow, I have so much crap around me, and then you're not happy, and then you throw it away, and then if you paid a lot of money for it, right, that's money right outside the window. There are so many people where they just buy clothes and they don't even wear it, and I'm guilty of that stuff too. I'm gonna be real here. I have like shortcomings, so I'm not like, I'll buy like a piece of clothing and then I'll say, oh yeah, 100%, I'm gonna wear it a lot. Sometimes I buy it off Amazon and I'm like, you know what, yeah, I'm not really that big of a fan of it, and then I forget to return it. And yeah, I have that for like, I think, one piece of clothing in the closet. But so yeah, don't beat yourself up if you're not perfect with things, but it's all like a journey, and it's all about having this like little mindset where it says, okay, well, I want to just live a life where I make sure that I keep everything in check, and if I can get it cheaper, I'll get it cheaper. Again, I don't hyper focus on this stuff. Like, I don't lay in bed at night and think like, oh, okay, how can I save money? It just kind of like, it happens as a progression. So this cleaning spray, like I said, I got this in September 2020. This tripod I got a month ago, and then these cardboard boxes, I've had this for about a year and a half. And then only a few days ago I decided to buy bins. But when you work on this stuff, after you feel like you've fixed it or you have it in a good system, I don't plan to come back to it again. And I've told Lewis this. Like, I know sometimes people have this perception where you might think, okay, if she's working on the tripod, she got to be working on the tripod every day. Like, no, that's not it. I'll look at it and then I'll brainstorm and then I'll think, you know what, I'll get back to it later. And yeah, it was like a small little project, but I learned something I learned something that I really appreciate. And I learned that yes, this super glue is good for wood, leather, porcelain. It's best for metal, most plastic, rubber, and it's not good for paper. And they do recommend using surface prep. I don't know. Do they recommend using surface prep? Surface prep, yes. Oil, green grease, no. So yeah, you want to have a clean surface. I did not really surface prep because I could not remove all the glue, but it seems like it's perfectly fine. So if I ever want to use this for like wood or leather, I could try it. Or porcelain, I could try it. But again, it works best on metal, most plastic, and rubber. And this was a $1 thing. And yeah, in the future, if anything breaks, I'm gonna just use my $1 super glue, right? This should last me a really, really long time. 50 cents for each one. 50 cents for each little bottle. Okay, so you guys, I'm going to read chat and see what you guys have to say. So, let's see. Yeah, so if you know what, like if you feel like, let's say you're a painter, right? It's totally fine to have like paint stains on your clothing because it comes with the job. A person who works in an office cubicle is going to be much cleaner than a person with construction. So it makes sense why a person with construction wears like those cheap, easily replaceable shirts because yeah, they get grimy and they have a job where it's more laborious than a person just typing on a keyboard. Really? A Zebra F701? I use Bic pens. I have no problem with that. So yeah, we have about, I think, 30 Bic pens, and I think they're probably going to last like 10 years. Oh, wow, that does look like a nice pen. Ooh, nice. You know what? I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind. I don't see myself having to buy a pen because we have a lot of pens over here, and I barely write anything, so. Let's see, how much do you value your own time? I do value my own time, but I see this as hobbies. I think too many people, Dora, say, oh, I make too much money. I don't want to spend time on a tripod. Let me just buy something because my time's so valuable. But these are the same people who kick back and they like watch TV all day. And then I'm thinking, like, does it really take that much time? Like, are you working 24/7? A lot of people aren't. A lot of people, it's like, I feel that yeah, they have this time that they waste. So I think that people work too damn hard for their money. And because of that, they really should try to make their products last longer. Work on a repair. You don't have to hyper focus on this stuff, but when something breaks, don't be so quick to throw it away. If you have, let's say a plastic container that breaks and it's just like an organizing container, instead of tossing it away, just get a piece of clear packing tape and just slap it on there, right? Like nobody cares about that. I personally don't care about it. I've cracked containers before, just organizing bins, and I'm like, whatever, just packing tape the thing. If you think that if you're gonna get a lot of value out of your like $1,500 graphic card, then I would say go for it. But of course, don't be spending money left and right. Because some people, right, maybe they're really into, let's say, video editing, maybe they're into like gaming, and they, instead of like spending their money on like going partying or something, they like playing Warcraft. And if you like doing that, then I'd say, okay, if you can comfortably afford it, if you can afford to not put yourself into debt, then get it. Because if you think you'll get $1 of use, $1, you'll get it down to $1 a use, so you use your computer 1,500 times, then I think it's worth it. So you know, it all depends. Like I would not cheap out. Like I said, I would not cheap out on a tripod. I know this tripod got repaired, but I wouldn't buy, let's say, a $5 tripod so much. Like if I felt like it was a piece of crap or I wouldn't really enjoy using it, then I'd say, yeah, never mind. But this tripod, I like it because it is adjustable. I mean, I think all tripods are like this, but there's some ones where it's like this fixated height. See? So I like it. I like it a lot. And we have two of them now. So one is on this side of the apartment and the other one's going to be on the other side of the apartment. And yeah, it's like easier. Yeah, I mean, let's see over here. Ah, see over here. If you, so yeah, my take is like if you think you are going to be using it a lot, then just treat yourself. And people give me a lot of crap about this, but I use my MacBook every single day. I know the fan sounds like it's a jet engine over here, but yeah, that just tells me like, hey, I need to get a better MacBook. And when I do get a better MacBook, I'm not gonna look for like the cheapest MacBook because this computer has saved me so much money. Instead of, oh, sorry, you guys. Instead, oops, oh, goodness. You saw my Mickey Mouse pants. Okay, let's see. Let's go back up. Okay. I gotta tighten this thing. I have my charger here, and that's the reason why it's like that. Okay. So yeah, if you feel like you're going to be using it a lot, don't deprive yourself. That's my personal opinion. I've shared with you guys, for instance, I have like when I was in Hawaii, I used to like making a lot of smoothies at one point, and I realized like, oh crap, Erica, you really like acai bowls. This was like maybe you know, like 5 years ago or so. You know, when the acai bowl craze was like all over the place, and in Hawaii, a lot of these acai bowls are like $7 to $10 a pop. And I used to go to Jamba Juice. I used to go to like all these like tropical tribe places in Honolulu, and it adds up. And I realized like, oh crap, I really should just make my own. Now I was using a blender that was a hand-me-down from 1960s, and when I tried to make a acai bowl, like I absolutely hated it. I was like, this is so crappy. It doesn't have the same consistency as a Vitamix. So what I did is I bought a refurbished Vitamix off of Vitamix.com with a 5-year warranty, and I made so many acai bowls and I made so many smoothies. And I'm not gonna say everything I made was great. Like sometimes I was like, oh, my consistency is a little off, or you know, maybe I needed to add more ice in there. But I knew like, hey, I have a really good blender. I have the top of the line blender. Vitamixes are known for lasting like 30 years. So even though I spent 300 something dollars on a Vitamix, you know, I thought about it and I said, Erica, you save so much money because you didn't have to go out and buy this stuff. If you wanted to just stay at home and make a acai bowl, right? It's convenient. I just go in the kitchen, you know, get my acai, you know, pack. I used Tambor or Samazon normally, or I even made like a dragon fruit smoothies. You know, dragon fruit, like it's kind of expensive. It's like $8, I think, for 4 packs, but it's so much cheaper than going to a cafe. So I was just going, you know, I was just eating so much like acai bowls, dragon fruit bowls, smoothies. And at the end of it, I said, you know what? I think it paid for itself. And if it didn't pay for itself, eventually it will pay for itself because that's the only blender that I have. And I don't have this desire to buy another blender because I know I have like the top of the line blender out there. It's contested. Some people like Blendtec, but I'm personally a really big fan of the Vitamix because I like the idea of the durability. So it is more expensive up front, but yeah, it's less mental energy for me because I don't want to be one of those people where you spend $100 on a blender and then you think, oh well, you know, like the Ninja blender. I've been very upfront, like I don't like Ninja blenders, but some people that I know, they'll say, "Oh yeah, the Vitamix is so overpriced, so I'm gonna buy a Ninja blender." And yeah, you know, my Ninja blender is just as good as a Vitamix. But when you compare a Vitamix and a Ninja blender side by side, the Vitamix comes out ahead. If you guys don't believe me, look on YouTube. And then also when you have a Ninja blender, depending on the model, you got this like freaking stick with all the blades, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. I rather get a Vitamix. You drop like two or three drops of soap in there, fill it about half or three-fourths way, and then you run it on high for about 30 seconds. Dump the liquid out. And then rinse it out with water, and then put it in your drying rack. It's so simple. There's a reason why that's the reason why places like Jamba Juice were using Vitamix, because it's simple, it works, and it can handle volume. Now, I don't drink that many smoothies. I don't drink that much acai bowls, but that kind of tells you I focus more on durability, reliability, and quality. And if I feel that this is something I'm going to be using for a number of years, I don't mind buying top of the line. So you have to think about it that way for sure. So I don't want to just be one of those people where I find myself having this sense of regret, because I've been in that situation. I've been in that situation where I bought like the cheapest item, and I tried to tell myself, "Oh, Erica, if you buy this, like if you buy cheap shoes, you're saving money." But when I wear the shoes, it like hurts or it's uncomfortable. I get all these blisters. I know it's a little graphic here. And then I think, "Oh, yeah, I got to toss these shoes." And you know what happens when I get rid of those uncomfortable shoes? I spend money on the expensive item afterwards. And then it turns out to like all the money that I spent on the cheap shoes, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of effort, it's a waste of storage space, because when I donate it, right, you donate it and it's like, oh man, I have to donate a pair of shoes that I only wore twice. Sometimes if you go to Goodwill or if you go to Savers, you'll see these cheap shoes where they basically look brand new. And do you know why they get donated? Because they're uncomfortable. They might look nice, but they might be heavy as hell. So I've shared it with you guys before. I choose to buy luxury shoes, but I try to buy pre-loved, pre-owned, and I look at like how it looks like. I don't want like any like really worn shoes. I try to go for like light new condition, um very very little wear. And that thing I'm like, okay, I'll go with that, because like if you're wearing a shoe, you're walking on concrete, right? So you're gonna have wear and tear on the bottom of the shoe. For some reason, I don't know what it is, but I guess the way maybe the way I walk, I tend to scrape the sides of the shoe or the back of the shoe, or maybe the way, I'm sitting and my shoe brushes against something. I don't know, but shoes are meant to be worn. Shoes do not look perfect all the time, and you got this wonderful thing called shoe polish. If you have a leather shoe, you can go to a shoe repair place. So you might buy, let's say, you might buy like a $600 high heel for $60, but you get it resold at a leather shoe repair place. You pay $30. You spend $90 on shoes, and it will last you a long time, because as the sole wears down, right? Because you got it repaired, all they have to do is just say, hey, shoe repair place, can you resole my shoe? And yeah, so I'm kind of like that person where if I get a pair of luxury shoes, one of the first things I do is resole it, because I don't want it to wear through that, that thin leather. I like to bring it to a cobbler. I like to support small businesses as well. A lot of these like shoe repair places, they're just like mom and pop stores. And too many people, they buy these cheap shoes, and sometimes like for cheap shoes, you might not be able to fix it, because they're like, oh well, this is such a shoddy made shoe. Or worse, right? You say, why should I resole my shoe if it was only $20? I just might as well buy a new one. And for me, I don't want to have like a massive shoe collection with like cheap shoes. I rather have like a very small shoe collection, but all the shoes there, it's like I like, or they're comfortable, or they're quality. So, yeah. I'm not saying that I don't buy cheap shoes. Like I buy like say $28 Nike shoes. Those are my main sneakers right now. But for like high heels, because I have to like go on that little stiletto. I do not want to be uncomfortable wearing a, let's say, a 3.5, 4 inch stiletto, and just think like, oh, it's so heavy. Oh, my feet hurt. And that's why it's like, for that, like, no question, I would rather go with like a higher end brand. I really like Manolos and Dior's. So I have three, and I have a Ferragamo in Hawaii. So I have a Gucci too. Yeah, so I have Manolo, and then I have a Dior. To be real, I haven't worn that Dior. I bought the shoe. I bought the shoe and it was so pretty that I could not bring myself to wear it. It sounds stupid, right? I actually bought that shoe brand new when I was working at my insurance job, and like sometimes I open the shoe box up and I'm like, "Oh, these velvet shoes are so pretty." And then I'll close it. It's like the Marie Kondo Sparks Joy thing. Looking at these shoes, I'm like, this is the perfect shoe. I really should wear it, but I probably wouldn't wear it until I got it resold. But I just love fawning over that high heel. It's so beautiful, so beautifully shaped. But yeah, I have not worn it at all. I mean, I've worn it like around the apartment, but I haven't worn it outside. So yeah, I have that, and then I have a Gucci one, and then I have a Ferragamo one. And yeah, the Gucci one, I think I bought it for about $80 at DSW, and then the Ferragamo and the Manolo, I bought them pre-loved. But yeah, I paid a fraction of what the retail was. Yeah, so cheap shoes, it's like I imagine most of my the people who watch the stream are males, but let me tell you the whole thing about the cheap shoes, right? When you have two shoes and you got one cheaper shoe, right, a high heel, the cheaper shoe will tend to be more stiff, it'll be heavier. And if you're taking steps and sleek and light, it's like ooh, thin and light. Now, I know, it's just like I'm just comparing it with like the weight difference over here. So that's why I like luxury shoes, because when I wear them, I don't have to focus on my feet as much. I focus more on, let's say, conversation with people, enjoying the ambiance around me, and not on like, oh my man, these feet, these shoes are killing me. They're so heavy. I'm getting a blister over here. Yeah. Why do we as women wear high heels? It hurts to walk in. I don't wear high heels very often. I've never worn a high heel over here. All my high heels are actually in. Actually, no, I do have a pair of Hugo Boss high heels in the closet, but I've never really worn high heels here because, I'm like walking on freaking pavement. It's like if I'm going out to dinner or if I'm going out to, something somewhere nice, then yeah, I'd consider wearing a high heel. But also keep in mind, right? Lewis just got his car recently, so I didn't want to wear a high heel on the Bafang because you figure, right, you're going to be exposed to elements. I didn't want to risk my heel possibly getting caught in the spoke or causing some sort of accident. But when I was in Hawaii, right, let's say if I was going out to lunch with someone or if I was going out to dinner with someone, I would wear high heels because it's like I like having that extra height and I like feeling more like I'm standing up straight. But it's really important to get good high heels because again, if you wear the cheap high heels, you're gonna feel miserable. It's like again, it's like having a ankle weight on you. And I don't want to have a conversation with someone and be like, man, I can't wait to get these freaking shoes up because they're so heavy. But yeah, when I was wearing high heels, if I was going to lunch or dinner with someone, normally I'd carry my flat shoes with me. So I'd have like this big, bag, and then I'd have a shoe bag, right? Like you know what I'm talking about, like the cloth shoe bags, and I'll put a pair of flats in there because yeah, if I wanted to change my shoes, hey, I got my flats inside of my handbag anyway, and yeah, so that's just me. But that's why I like high heels. I think it looks prettier, and I like it, but I don't like spending a lot of time in high heels. What is it? Oh, look at that. So Magic Spam Dragon says about all these cheap stuff. Wow. Where do you live? How come dragon fruit is pretty cheap where you is? Where we live, normally if I go to a supermarket, dragon fruit is about 6.99 a pound. It's expensive. Of course it'd probably be cheaper at a like a Chinatown. Yeah. Oh, mango. Oh, mangosteens are nice. Oh, Philippines. Oh my gosh, Philippines has like amazing. They have like dragon fruit farms. You know what? You know what? I love him. My friend went to the Philippines, and she got this thing called chica corn. Chica corn. It's like a fried corn kernel. Yeah, I know you know what I'm talking about. But they have like a garlic one. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I remember after I had that, I went to go to like a Filipino supermarket, and then I was looking at the, like the boy boang or something. I know I'm saying it wrong, But man, that chica corn stuff, so tasty, so tasty. It's amazing. It's amazing. So I loved it. I loved it so much. It was great. But yeah, that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that yeah, that kind of stuff is like, that's the stuff that I remember, right? I really like good food. I get more, I get more out of really good food, even like chica corn kind of thing, or even something like raisinets. I like raisinets than like some kind of stupid luxury purchase kind of thing. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this video up, but I hope that for you guys, if you guys are, let's say, you know, trying to save money, like, think of things not just focused on the cheapest stuff, but I want you guys to kind of think about, let's say, my all-purpose cleaner. I want you guys to surround yourself with things that last, and then when it does last, you find that, yeah, grocery shopping is easy. So you have less to worry about. You have less, let's say, pressure for marketing because you already have what you want. I always see like the always pan on YouTube. You know what I'm talking? You've seen that, right? The always pan. They say like, this is the ultimate pan, and I think to myself, like, why do I need the always pan? I basically use a pot, a cast iron skillet, and I have an Instapot, and I have an air fryer if I want. I don't need another like $100 pan or something, but they always try to make it sound like, and I know like an always pan is supposed to be an all-in-one thing, but I personally like having my air fryer, my Instapot, and my cast iron skillet, and my I forgot what kind of pot I have, but it's like a I think it's like a 4 quart. I might be remembering it wrong. Like like saucepan of sorts with a lid, and that worked really well. I use it all the time. Oh, and I also have a little pot too, that I really like. So basically, those things I use. So all the stuff about like high-end stuff, I don't really have a desire for it. But if I came across a cheap all-clad piece, I would be tempted to get it. If it was really cheap, I would be tempted to get it, because you hear about all-clad, you think about like top of the line stuff. I'd be like, oh, maybe I'll just get the all-clad, because then I get like a bougie piece. So my hope is, in the future, that I have, if I hope in the future that I have pieces that are high quality and didn't cost that much. But again, this doesn't happen like overnight. This won't happen in a couple months. This is probably going to be like 10 years down the line. Oh, this is all, you know, this is like the kind of stuff that I surround myself. And yeah, I don't want to be like, I understand that if you're existing, you are going to be a consumer. You have to participate in consumerist culture somewhat. Even for people who, you know, like to say that they shun capitalism or consumerism, it's like, capitalism is what keeps the country functioning as it is. And to be frank, if everybody spent like me, I really don't think that the economy would be booming. That's just me, because it's like, I don't purchase very much stuff at all. If I do purchase stuff, I try to get, you know, the whole cost. I try to get like a good like cheap price but high quality. And yeah, I don't hyper focus on buying like premium labels, file folder labels from the Dollar Tree, 120 pieces. This works perfectly fine. I rate it with the Bic pen. Yeah, that's good enough. But for you guys, because I anticipate I probably only get maybe 200, 300 views on this video. That's how my videos normally run. I think that for you guys, like, if you guys decide to be like cheap or frugal, or, you know, you try to make things stretch, it's not going to devastate the economy. A lot of people are still going to be buying stuff, and I think that's kind of necessary. You know, we do need some people who spend more money, but for all of you who are listening into this, I don't want you guys to go into debt. I want you guys to have an emergency fund of money. I want it to be like, if something happens, you can cover that expense. And I say this because I've been around people where they save. It becomes a habit. So if anybody thinks like, oh, Erica's depriving herself, or she like talked herself out of purchases, she has a negative view on things, that's not it. I go with this and I'm like, ooh, I can only spend $1 on this. This is great. This is more money saved in the bank account. Versus, right, I buy like $4 ones, and then I'm like, oh, okay, you know, that's $4 out of the bank account. So um, yeah, and I've shared with you guys, for the people who I do know Hawaii who were very frugal when the situation occurred, the of sorts, they some of their jobs, like the place that they worked at, like business dropped 75%. My dad is a taxi driver, for instance. He's been working as a taxi driver. So taxi drivers technically they don't money, especially with the lift, right? So when the situation happened, I asked him, how is business now? And he told me, he said, Erica, I make 25% of what I made before because nobody wants to go out. And I was a little worried about that, but he said, I'm not worried, Erica, because I always save my money. I always, I always just, he always thinks about saving money. So if the situation happens and his income decreases by 75%, he's like, whatever, and whatever, he can weather that thing out because his expenses are very low. My dad does not, like, my dad will buy stuff, but he typically buys things pre-owned. He buys things pre-owned. He goes to the swap meet, and yeah, he lives a life where he gets more bang for his buck. So I do recommend go to a garage sale, go to a swap meet. You can haggle with people. If you, let's say you see a backpack that you like and they want $10, you can ask them, hey, will you accept $5? Chances are they'll meet you in the middle and they'll say, you know what, I'll do $8, right? You can accept $8. You can push and say, yeah, you know what if I give you 7, right? It's not offensive because those people want to get the items out and you want to get a deal. And I personally rather walk away with a $7 backpack than a $10 backpack as someone who buys stuff. So I haven't gone to a swap meet or a garage sale in a really long time, but I remember when I was in high school, I used to go to swap meets, garage sales. You can make $5 stretch really far, for sure. And I used to like buying like vintage Hello Kitty stuff, but yeah, I don't collect that stuff anymore. But that's the kind of stuff. So you don't have to think like you can't buy stuff. You can, but just make sure you make your money stretch. Don't be in a rush to go to the store and say, oh yeah, I'm stressed out, let me buy something to make me feel better. I know people like that. They have a high stress job and then they spend a lot of money. And I say that because I used to be like that. So when I had my insurance job, I bought, I bought this like $400 handbag. Mind you, it was 30% off. I bought this like $500 Dior heels, and I think I got it for 30% off. But still, I was so stressed out that I wanted to just like break away and buy this like nice luxury item. But looking back at it, okay, the Dior heels, I still really like them. It's one of those like stupid purchases that I don't regret at all, because like whenever I open it, I'm like, it sparks joy in me. But the Kate Spade bag that I bought for about $400, I think it was like 350, 400. I think closer to 350 actually. That bag, I've only used it about 10 times. So right now it's at about $30 a use. So that wasn't a smart purchase on my side, but at the time I really liked the bag and I was stressed out. And now I realize, right, years later, Erica, you could have just bought another cheaper bag instead. You could have invested that $300 in freaking Microsoft and you would have made money since you bought that bag versus you have a bag sitting in the closet that you probably have to condition when you get back to Hawaii. And yeah, so items, when you have luxury item purchases, especially leather, they're durable, but you do have to condition it. You do have to get the leather conditioner. There's a two-step Chamberlain's, I think, Chamberlain's leather conditioner. You might want to go with like leather honey, something like that. I wasn't a big too fan of that, but that kind of stuff, right? That kind of stuff, it's like you have items that are really durable, but you got to take care of it. And I don't want to have too many items where I have to think about leather conditioning too much. So that's why when you see the stuff that I have, I tend to have like cheap Le Sport sack bags because I can just throw it in the washing machine and I don't have to worry about it breaking. And yeah, it's a really good purchase. I've shilled Le Sport sack bags so many times, but I would recommend, if you do like a bag, don't buy it brand new. Buy it pre-owned, because you can buy a $50 bag for about $5 or $7 shipped if you get it pre-owned on a site like eBay, Mercari, Poshmark. And you can, if you're on Mercari, you can haggle too. So if you use the app, instead of buying stuff for, let's say, $10, you can offer them like $8 instead. And maybe they accept it. Chances are they do accept it because they want to get it out of wherever they live. So yeah, I so like my uncle, right? Always try to live beneath your means. There is nothing embarrassing about saving because remember, having financial security, having just knowing that you're not in debt is so much more mentally freeing. I've known people, like I said, I've known people where they gave me so much crap about my lifestyle. Why don't you buy the stuff that you want, Eric? You go to these stores, you look at these expensive bags. You can buy it, why are you driving yourself, Erica? And my thing is I think about the end goal. And the end goal is I rather have more money in my bank account than a freaking handbag that I possibly only use 20 times in my life before I donate it or I resell it. But chances are I don't want to deal with reselling, so I'll probably donate it. And yeah, for those people who criticize me, uh, almost all of them they ended up having financial problems, and it's like they have all these expensive items, but you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth having the expensive items and being like $10,000 in debt or $20,000 in debt? My personal opinion is no. Like I rather have a $5 handbag than sleep at night knowing I'm $1,000 in debt because I made this luxury handbag purchase. Or, right, not just even one luxury purchase, but like several things. Once people go into debt, if they don't budget, if they don't try to find a way to get out of debt, it causes emotional stress. And all you guys that are listening to my stream, unless you have a mortgage or unless you have like college debt, I really hope you guys just like keep your spending in control. Again, there's nothing embarrassing about living beneath your means. My uncle, who had a lot of money, right, could have bought several Lamborghinis. He lived very frugally, but as a result of that, whenever I saw him, he never had like he had this thing where he wasn't focused on money. He didn't, he wasn't he decided to spend his time with family rather than thinking about that kind of stuff. If he wanted to go on a cruise with my grandma, he could take her on a cruise. He could pay for it in full and not worry about it because of his saving habits. And yeah, he was able to buy my grandma an apartment and pay for it, and not have any financial duress about it because he was such a saver. And this kind of stuff, I know this sounds bad, but I have so much more respect for my uncle now. Like, I'm not, it's respect, like, is all inspiring effect. Like, I've always respected my uncle, but it's like on a whole nother level because like I had no idea how much, right? How much he worked at saving his money and then just trying to make sure like the way he invested his money was wisely, and the stuff that he bought was to help the family out, to help him with my grandma's care, to take her on trips. And he could have spent all that money on himself. He could have had a flashy car, but he chose not to do that because he was like, oh, I want to make sure that I have financial security, and then when I can retire, I live comfortably. And he could have lived way more than comfortably. Again, this guy was living in a $200,000 rundown house. He could have bought a much better house, a much, 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 much better house, but he chose not to because I think that when he thought about value and stuff, he valued relationships with the family, relationship with his friends, than just needlessly spending money on stuff. And yeah, and it also protected him too, right? He lived such a frugal lifestyle. I don't consider him a cheapskate. Like, he was always that kind of person. Like, if we'd have family dinners, he would offer to pay for everything. And it's not because like like, I don't know if you guys know this, but like Asian families, they all like, when the bill comes, they're like, I will pay for it. No, I will pay for it. No, I will pay for it. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. But yeah, they get like that. And he, with, like, he could like pay for a 11-person meal and not flinch at it because he knew how much money he had saved up. So he could do these kind of things. And not saying like he was paying for a lot of things for the family. Like, we rarely had dinners or anything like that. But I imagine knowing he had that financial security was just like, okay, if I get if he got fired from his job, he would be perfectly fine. If he had to retire early, like if he didn't have the cancer, he would have been perfectly fine. Like if he was laid off, he would have been perfectly fine. But he chose to continue working. I think it's because he liked his job. He really could have quit his job, once the situation happened. But he didn't. He continued working, and he continued investing, and growing his money, and it just became habit. So for any of you guys who are listening to this and you say like, oh, I want to be frugal, don't rush into it. Okay, don't think like you got to say, oh, okay, well, now I'm not going to spend money. Do small little purchases. Get your little all-purpose cleaner. Start making your own coffee. Try to repair your own items. And after a number of years, you get better and better and better at it, and it becomes natural. I've been living this kind of lifestyle since I was in high school. So I was already shopping at Goodwill and Savers when I was in high school, because I remember like I was helping my friend out, and I had a fast food job, like a drive-through job for 2 days. And I know people would say, Erica, really 2 days? But listen to this, okay? So I remember when I was working at that job for 2 days to help my friend out. I got paid under the table. I can say this now. The business went under, but I got paid under the table for 2 days. I will never forget how this one person in a BMW, because it was a drive-through, right? Just I gave them the wrong information, and they gave me this look like, you're beneath me. I am in a BMW and you're beneath me. And it's like I never could shake that kind of thing, because like that's the reason why I'm very kind to people who work in fast food, or they work in retail, and they work in a cafe, because like they get so many people who is just like, who are you? Like, I have a Louis Vuitton bag. You work for probably minimum wage. You're not as good as me. And I realize, right, because I've met a number of people. Don't think a lot of the people who have these luxury goods are happy with themselves. A lot of the times people buy these luxury goods because they're unhappy. And I'm not saying all of it, okay? Like, I like having expensive high heels, but it's not because I feel like I have low self-worth. I don't chase this stuff, but it's like if I come across and I'm like, ooh, high heel, cheap, let's buy it. But there are certain people who they surround themselves with, like, say, Lexus, Rolexes, Louis Vuitton, because they don't feel like they have worth within them. And I think that it's really sad. I think it's sad where it's like you feel like you gotta like give off this image to people to get people to respect you. But truly, right, if you have those items, you, instead of being a total jackass, you should be kind to these people, because the people who work at like cafes or restaurants, they work hard for their money, right? It's like they probably don't get paid very much. So why are you going to just be a total jerk to them? Why are you going to give them this look like, you're such a peasant? And yeah, so with that kind of stuff, right, I worked, and I really did not like how I felt like I was being looked at or treated, and just that, it's like you have people with money who just like come in and they're like, oh, whatever, you're just the cashier girl. And when I got my money, I looked at it and I was like, oh my, this is all I got. And they're like, yeah, you would have gotten less actually, or if we did not pay you under the table. And during that time, okay, I was shopping at, let's say, going to like Ross or going to Macy's, and like I wasn't purchasing a lot of stuff at Macy's, but it's like I had, I'm an only child, so I can be very upfront and say, because I was an only child, my parents were like, oh, Erica, we want you to focus on studies. Here, we'll give you like spending money. It wasn't very much spending money, but it was spending money to the point it's like, oh, okay, if I want to buy a shirt, I could buy a $25 shirt and not really think much about it. So after the 2 days, I got, I think it was not much money. I forgot how much it was, but I remember thinking to myself, like, that's all I get? Like, if I go to Macy's and I buy a shirt, like, this takes up a big chunk of my money. That's when I had this like eureka moment. Like, I really gotta save my money. Like, wow, crap, I didn't realize, like, sounds so ignorant, but keep in mind, I was about 15, 16 years old at this time, okay? So it was slack here. But I realized, like, dang, I worked really hard for my money and I didn't get that much money. So wow, I could just blow my money so easily if I wasn't thinking about my purchases. And that was an incredible learning experience for me. And that's why afterwards I started shopping at, let's say, thrift stores and Savers and garage sales more, and online buying stuff pre-owned, because I thought I worked too damn hard for my money to just go away after one freaking t-shirt. So that's the kind of thing that it's, yeah. And so my uncle, he shopped a lot at Costco, he shopped at Ross, and he basically lived in athletic wear, which seems like it lasts forever. I have athletic wear that I've had in the closet, I've had like for 3 4 years, and they still look brand new. It's just like this stuff doesn't pill. Yeah, so I think that falls into being responsible with money. Being extremely cheap is bad too. What's the point of saving all that money, especially retirement, and dying at 60? I think people don't expect that they're gonna die in their 60s. People work hard and then they say, well, I'm gonna take maybe a vacation, a trip around the world. I'm gonna, treat myself, and I can do whatever I want, and I don't have to feel like I have to live on a limited income as much. Now, if you're frugal, if you're on a budget, like I don't budget, okay? Some people might think like, oh, Erica, do you have any system in place where you say, oh, I'm only gonna spend X amount every month or X amount every week? I know some people, they do the envelope system where they say every day I can only spend $10 on something or $5 on something. I don't do that. What I do is that I set myself up where it's like I'm trying not to spend any money, and if I do spend money, it's a purchase that I feel like I can use for a long time. I don't, I, I'm not this way with food. I prioritize food. So, for instance, right, I won't buy the cheapest coffee. I know I buy instant coffee, but I'm not looking for the cheapest quality. I'm looking for the most bang for the buck. I'm looking for an affordable, high quality coffee, and a lot of the times I look at reviews for these like instant coffee. I know people give me crap about using instant coffee. I don't. I like instant coffee. I just got used to it, but I could make coffee using the Keurig. I have a French press. I could use that too, but I don't want to deal with the coffee grounds. I don't want to deal with the coffee grounds for sure. So yeah, if you can save money and are responsible, buy that expensive handbag. Life is short. I disagree here, because if you don't really like that handbag, if you don't love that handbag, then don't just buy it. Like you have to, for me, when I make purchases, if it's an expensive purchase, I tell myself I want to use this for at least a couple years. This MacBook, I use it every single day. I've saved so much money on this MacBook because I watch documentaries, I research things, I look up things how to repair. It's it pays for itself in terms of entertainment value for sure. I don't consider the MacBook Air to be one of those like purchases where I will regret it. I love it so much. I love my MacBook Air. And yeah, when I'm waiting to like figure out like, oh, okay, well, let me wait for the newer MacBook, and then I will be very tempted to just put everything on there and just be like, okay, $2,000 MacBook. I don't really care because I love my MacBook and I want to do video editing and not have to deal with the stupid. I mean, I know the newer MacBooks don't have any fan, but I don't want it to be like, I feel like I want it to have more RAM or more, more this or more that. So yeah, I like making videos. I like editing videos to a certain extent, but it definitely is nice if I could stream and not have the fan going like shh kind of thing. But again, I know the newer MacBooks don't have any fans. I just don't want it to like cause too much stress for my computer. My computer's like, wait, we can't handle this video editing kind of thing. So yeah, if you so but yeah, you gotta have purchases that you really love. And if you just buy a handbag because you kind of like it, I don't think it's a smart investment, because like I said, I try to make a choice when I buy a purchase. Would I rather have the cash or would I rather have the item? That screens out so many things, because sometimes I'll look at something, it's like, okay, Erica, would you rather spend $5 on the pouch, or would you rather keep $5 in your bank account? I don't need the pouch. I don't need the pouch. I don't need the candle holder. I don't need the vase and stuff like that, because all that stuff adds up. Yes, it might only be $10, but if you buy 10 $10 items, that's $100. And if you don't keep all that stuff, that's $100 that you're possibly giving away or donating or decluttering, right? So it's not just the cost that I focus on, it's also things that I want to like keep around. And for this apartment, I have like minus organizing containers. I have zero desire to really add anything into this apartment. I think that I've decorated this apartment quite a bit, and I'm decluttering it, and I'm pretty damn happy that it's gotten to a point where it's like I'm just running on autopilot now, right? It's like, I know that it seems like I get really fixated on this kind of decorating stuff, but it's because I wanted to reach this aesthetic. And then once I reach this aesthetic, it's like maintenance. And then I come home, right? We come home and it's like, oh, the place looks really nice and pretty. And it's like, yeah, I don't have to do anything. I spent all the effort trying to make it pretty. And then afterwards, you can just enjoy life. And yeah, I like it that way. I like it to be simple and easy and breezy. And that's why I'm kind of moving towards minimalism now. Minimalism in terms of decor, but yeah, even for me, it's like I feel lucky that I didn't spend a lot of, I didn't spend a money on I didn't spend money on a lot of things. So when I want to declutter things, like from the outside in, people could say like, crap, this chick, she's such a shopaholic. She's decluttering things constantly. But truly, it's not me being a shopaholic. It's me trying to figure out like, oh, did I really want this item? Oh yeah, never mind. This item doesn't work for me. Like that little wooden castle that I gave away. Remember that, the wooden castle? I don't regret giving out the wooden castle because like I look at the decor and I'm like, yeah, it didn't really match. I held on to it for a month and I'm like, I can't find a place to put it. Just give it away. So I gave it away, and someone else is appreciating it for free, right? So they're saving money. I saved money. I saved it from the landfill, or I rehomed it from someone else. So I like picking things up for free from other people, or I like finding things on the sidewalk. And when I went dumpster diving, I haven't gone dumpster diving in about 1.5, 2 months. But when I was going there, it was like I would be acquiring items. I didn't have to pay for it, so I had the luxury of bringing it home and saying, "Do I really like this item?" And if I didn't, I just give it away. I give it away without like zero guilt, because it's like, oh yeah, yeah, it looks like it's a $30 item, but I got it for free, so I don't care. So yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not just about the cost, and it's not just about buying the item, but you also have to think about storing the item as well. And I have so many handbags. I really don't need another handbag right now. I wouldn't mind having another handbag, like if it was a luxury handbag, but I mean, based on my life, can you really see me walking around with an LV bag? I can't. I can't see myself walking around with an LV bag out on the street. Like I would get mugged, 100%. So yeah, I choose not to do it. Safety issue. My sports bags work perfectly fine, but they look kind of dowdy. But whatever, it's like I look at the bag and I'm like, hey, I can drop this on the floor. I can spill something on it. Throw it in the washing machine, put some stain remover on it, like whatever. It's not that big of a deal. So I will talk to you guys later. If you have any questions, or if you want to share any comments, let me know. Let me know below. I like reading your comments when you guys do leave it, and I'm always open to hearing more things. I I hope that with this stream it helped you guys. This knowledge that I shared with you, again, it wasn't something that just happened within the last few days. This is how I live my life, and I really like living my life like this, because at the end of the day, I don't have to worry about, okay, I bought this expensive item and I have guilt for it. And yeah, I'm more happier just being less of a consumer. But when I do buy stuff, I try to make sure it's stuff that I actually really love, stuff that I can actually use, like a storage bin, that kind of thing. And it gets me closer to a goal that I want. And yeah. So save your money, invest your money, and I hope all of you watching this stream, I hope you do have financial security. And if you are not there, you can get there. You just got to take that conscious, you got to take those steps to say, what am I bleeding money on? What is trickling out of my bank accounts? Like, do you have like let's say a subscription to some sort of Better Homes and Gardens that you don't really read, right? Can you do without it? If you can, cancel it. Do you need cable? Cable's a big one. If you don't really watch TV, why are you paying for cable? YouTube works perfectly fine. You can also get a Roku. You could get Netflix. We don't have cable here. We don't have a TV here, actually. Lewis had a TV and then he got rid of it. We don't watch TV. We watch, like I said, we watch mostly Netflix and YouTube. I mean, yeah, Netflix and YouTube. And Netflix, I think he pays $14 a month for it. And I thought it was kind of pricey. I know it sounds really cheap of me, but I thought it was kind of pricey. I'm like, oh, geez, is there like a cheaper plan? Is there a plan that you could get it for like maybe $7? But that's just the nature of me. I don't like reoccurring subscriptions. I like to make sure everything is like low as can be. And then that way, when you have more money in your bank account, right? When you sleep at night, you're like, I live a low cost lifestyle. My money is growing, and yeah, if anything happens, I'm totally okay. But yeah, so surround yourself also with frugal individuals, because if you surround yourself with frugal individuals, you'll learn things from them. They'll share tips with you, and it's such an inspiration. I've been fortunate to be around the company of frugal individuals, and they are significantly less stressed than the people who surround themselves with all these like useless, needless, like expensive purchases, because they don't feel like they got to prove anything to anybody. Like if you see a person who wears like a t-shirt and jeans, like, yeah, they might not look the most aesthetic. They could go to Uniqlo and buy a nice shirt or a nice jeans, and then like Uniqlo has really good clothing in my opinion, but it's affordable, and I think Uniqlo clothing lasts a long time, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. And if you get a staple piece, you don't have to feel like, oh, okay, well, I got to go back to Macy's and hope they still have that same kind of shirt around. And yeah, like Steve Jobs, for instance. Steve Jobs was a minimalist, right? He always wore his black turtleneck with his mom jeans, for lack of a better word. And I know that his turtleneck was a designer turtleneck. I think it was Issey Miyake, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he had a whole stash of turtlenecks, and he didn't have to think about shopping because he had basically a uniform, and that became the thing that he was known by. I think, um, yeah, if you want to save money, just go with like a solid color. Like, wear a lot of minimalists, you'll see this, they wear black on black, right? They're always like, I got to wear a black V-neck T-shirt, a black polo shirt, and then normally they'll wear it with, let's say, black jeans or black pants. It's like a total blackout. It's very strange. Or like just solid colors, and then that way it's just very streamlined, and it's very like they don't have to think about stuff. It's like, what are you gonna wear today? Black on black, black on black. I don't live that kind of lifestyle, but I understand why people do. It's like they have less to think about, less to when they look at the sales ad, they're not thinking like, oh, I really want to buy that cute dress. They're thinking, I got my closet, my black on black closet, and that's good enough. Yeah. So is being cheap pulling your own teeth? I would not pull my own teeth. There are certain things, and yeah, I know I said I was gonna go, but you guys know how this freaking stream goes. I would not pull my own teeth just because it's like I don't trust myself. I know some people pull their own teeth. I rather go to, let's say, a dental school and see if I could get it cheaper there, or try to work some payment thing out with my dentist. But yeah, dental care can be expensive. But right, what's the big thing? What's the big thing? If you want to have better dental care, you better take care of your teeth. You better floss your teeth. You better make sure you have good toothpaste. I like using Pro Enamel. It's like a $4 toothpaste. But you know what? I'm like, freaking the price of a cavity versus this $4 tube. I'm gonna take the Pro Enamel toothpaste. I know there's Crest, but I personally like Pro Enamel. I have some tooth sensitivity too if I eat too cold of a stuff, so the Pro Enamel helps with it. I also have, I think right now I have the one where it's like enamel repair. I don't know if that works or not, but it's something. There was an attempt made. But yeah, so you gotta, if you want to really save money, don't just focus on saving money on items. Focus on also maintaining yourself, right? You know how I maintain this tripod? Maintain this tripod. I also try to maintain myself. I moisturize my skin. I always make sure that well, I'm not perfect, but I try to eat healthy. And you hear about me using face creams, and you see me moisturizing and try to stay away from the sun. Like, all that stuff adds up. So I feel like by doing these kind of things, as I get older, I have less to worry about in terms of sun damage, because I don't really go out in the sun, and I don't have to think too much about, let's say, doing it in, like, I'm totally fine with the aging process. I want to keep my teeth as long as I can, so that's why I try to floss and brush and trying to cut down my sugar intake. Not 100%, but I'm trying to lower down the sugar intake gradually. But yeah, so you gotta invest in yourself, for sure, for sure. And it doesn't have to be expensive. Like floss doesn't have to be expensive. Maybe I think in the future I'll do a stream about the dental stuff I use. I'm not saying I have the best dental care here, but then you get an idea of like how I like to spend money instead of buying money on stuff that signal to people that hey, Erica is like on a different level, she's so, da 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 da. I rather spend the stuff on freaking $5, $4 or $5 floss and say, ooh, I really like this floss. This is like a luxurious item. It just feels really good it feels really good flossing versus the freaking $1 floss. Seriously, I gotta share with you guys this floss because the floss is just amazing compared to like the cheapy floss. It's one of those items that's like, oh my gosh, this is just such a great product. It really is a great product. I'm serious. Like, it sounds weird for me to hype it up, but I've tried so much crappy floss that having that floss is good. It's like a Dr. Tongue's floss. Dr. Tongue's, they have like it's in pink. It's a cardamom flavor one. I know it sounds gross, cardamom flavor, but it's actually really nice. It's like when I use it, I think of myself like, oh, this is like the Neiman Marcus of floss. Like, oh, this is great floss. Everybody should be using this floss. Wow, I feel so like I feel like I'm really pampering myself using this floss. And the floss is, like I said, it's like the standard size floss, but it's $5. And I'd rather spend money, $5 on the floss than $5 on, going to an ice cream shop. You see? Because the floss would actually protects my teeth versus the ice cream. Like, it's a splurge purchase, but yeah. Yeah, I don't want pee. I like frick. I'm so hot right now. Like, seriously, I have a fan blowing at me. It's like I'm looking outside. I'm like, oh, so I probably will turn on the AC, close the window afterwards. I was hoping, right, if I have the fans on, I'll be okay. But yeah, the fans can only go so much. I didn't even sleep with any blankets on today. I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so warm. It's so warm. What do I do for a living? So for me right now, I don't have a job, but I do have a stock portfolio, which was growing, but now it's kind of stagnating. So that's my only like source of income that I have in terms of my stock portfolio. But then I also have, I know people are going to laugh at me now, but I also have like this investment of Bitcoin that I'm investing, I think $50 every weekend. And I'm hoping, right, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens in like a year or two with my little Bitcoin investment. So I want my money to grow for me. And I want it to be to a point where yeah, it gets to a point where it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And next thing I know, I'm like, wow, that's a sizable amount of income. I plan to have my stock portfolio for the next 20 to 30 years. And I do this because, like I said, I've lived around people who have stock portfolios for 20, 30 years, and they are in much better financial shape than if they didn't invest. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, Erica, it's so late. The prices are so high. You know what? If you don't invest at all, like, you're never going to gain your money. And I think the people who I know who are educated, they invest. So if you just rely on, let's say, your salary to pull you through and make you money, like that, I don't think that's a smart option, because I hear about people who work, let's say, in retail, and the company says, like, we're not going to give anybody raises for the next 3 years, or we're doing a hiring freeze, and yeah, we want to pay you a low amount of money, and we're not going to reward you even if you bring in like a ton of revenue, even if you go above and beyond for sales, because yeah, the company just wants to protect their bottom line. So don't expect, especially nowadays, right, like, don't expect a company to treat you right. And if you don't get your 3% raise, like, say screw it. Like, I like, when I was working, I worked, so my last job, right, it was a union job. So yeah, I was like, I liked having a union job. I'm actually very pro union. People will say things like, oh, well, why are you pro union if you have to pay your dues? But my thinking is like, I think unions, they protect their workers. Yes, you got some lazy people, but the work life balance is so important to me. I rather work for a place that has a union than without a union, because I like having that. I like knowing that I don't have like something at my throat, and it's like, you better be damn grateful you have a job. That's exactly what happens. So when I worked at that insurance place for about a year and a half, it was a terrible place. Okay, seriously, terrible place. I would not recommend anybody working for health insurance. A lot of people had breakdowns. One person, in my opinion, they had health issues for it. I saw people's relationships break down because of the stress of working for that place. Basically, they pay you a little bit of money, or they pay you a little higher, but they expect so much work out of you, and they don't show any appreciation. It's like, you better be grateful you have a job. You better be, you better be lucky. You better feel happy that you're getting paid what you're getting paid. So when I was working at that insurance place, I was getting paid, I think, base $40,000 a year. And then also I was doing overtime, right? Every single day, because the freaking team was skeletal. And at one point, 40% of my team left in 1 month. 40% of the team left in 1 month because they were like, screw it, we want out of here, this is BS. And I didn't leave. I didn't leave because I thought, like, I really need this job. Like, if I have a break in my resume, it's gonna be over. And yeah, it was such an unhealthy time of my life. It was really a dark period of my life. I had really bad depression and anxiety, really, really, really bad. But yeah, so afterwards, I got a job at a hospital, and it was unionized, and it was like a huge difference. People looked happy, and although you had to pay even though you had to pay monthly dues, it's like the difference in happiness between the health insurance place and the hospital was worth it. And I thought, you know what, even if the pay is less, it's okay, because you can always make that money if you invest, right? You can always make that money if you invest wisely, and yeah, make that freaking little difference up. And if you don't get that, if you have like a job and you don't get that 3% raise, like, it's not the freaking end of the world. I really hate it. I really hate it when like employers try to make it sound like you have no other options besides us. And it was really stupid of me. But keep in mind, I had this terrible, terrible supervisor when I was my first job out of college. And yeah, that was the initial person who hired me who said those kind of words to me. And then the person who became my supervisor afterwards was a megalomaniac. Totally, like, it was just like, I am your supervisor, like, screaming kind of thing. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. So yeah, it's just like, do you see me being that kind of person where someone has to scream at me like I am your supervisor? It's just crazy. So like after that, I put in my 2 weeks, and I was like, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this. And I was talking to my doctor because I was having gastritis. I was actually having like acid reflux issues and breaking out in like patches of rash all down my arms, like big time, because I was under so much stress. Again, the crew was skeletal, and they said like, hey, we want you to keep the overtime uh under control. And it's like, well, if so many people left, how the hell do you expect the people who are here to be able to churn out the work of other people? And then like, oh, we got to think about the budget. It's like that. So yeah, that kind of stuff. Like and then yeah, I saw people, I saw my coworkers where they were stressed out, and then they would say like, okay, I'm stressed out. I need to treat myself. I need to get these $100 manicures. Oh, I need to buy myself, let's say, a $400 handbag. And I myself was guilty of that, right? I've said it before. I've said it early in the stream. Like, I bought myself a $400 Kate Spade bag, and I bought myself some like I think it was like $500 heels, because I was in such a bad place. It's like, I thought like, okay, I need to soothe myself with consumerism. And thankfully the Dior bag, I'm the Dior shoes, I don't really care too much. I still love the shoes, but the bag, I'm like, oh, I could have gone without it. But yeah, I kind of tell myself like, I probably would never ever buy another handbag new ever again. But I don't want to say never, but not on that level for a Kate Spade for sure. So yeah, if you have no job, where does the money come to invest at $50 every week? So I actually have savings. So I have savings, and it's like, I instead of like putting all the money in, I'm thinking like, okay, let me do, what was it called? Averaging. So some people, they say like, oh, they don't want, they like, people think like if they invest right, they want to time it right. But I'm not good at timing things. I'm really not. So I thought, well, instead of putting a big lump sum, let me put $50 on here, and then every week it averages out. I think right now for Bitcoin, I'm losing money because I started in, I want to say February or so. I started buying when it was around 42,000, then went up to 60,000. I don't know, maybe it's like 35,000 now. Who knows? But all that stuff. I'm like, whatever. If I stop my auto invest, then I only have like $2,000 invested. I'm like, I don't really care. I don't really care. It's like with investments, sometimes you have good investments, sometimes you have bad investments. I've had bad investments, but thankfully my good investments vastly outweighed my bad investments. So I try to make sure that I put a little bit money on a side. And that's the other thing too, right? So I was talking to Lewis about this, and I said, I was interested in getting a job or looking into getting a job because I want to have money that I can throw into investing. So I want to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna put this money into my stock portfolio. That way, it grows and grows and grows. I have more money for it to grow, and yeah, I want to look back, let's say 10 years from now, and be like, hey, my portfolio is like so much better. And yeah, if I lose my job, like, I don't really give a crap. I want to be in that kind of position where it's like, yeah, I just want to grow my assets more and more and more. And yeah, but I'm not like, if any of you guys are like thinking like, oh, like, how's Erica's financial future? My financial future is going to be fine. So that kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, the money that I made from my jobs, I saved it as much as I could, and then I threw that into my stock portfolio. And because I've been having the stock portfolio for about 3 years or so, right? It's grown. I mean, minus Amazon. Amazon is freaking stagnating right now. It's still like 3,200. I feel like that's the curse, but whatever. I'll hold on to Amazon. I'm already good with the Amazon thing. So yeah, I'm not losing money. I was just hoping it would grow and grow and grow. So the great thing about stocks is, let's give an example, right? Let's say you buy $100 worth of stock. It goes up to $200. Right? So you double your money. And it doesn't seem like that much, but let's say if you invested $100,000 instead of $100, right? If you double your money, it'll get to $200,000. And then if your $200,000 grows 30%, you end up with $260,000. You see? So it's like you invest and it goes up, 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 up. And then your money just sits in an account, and you let these people who work at these companies work hard, and then it makes money for you. So I'm a big fan of having dividends as well, because it's like dividends, you get like free money. It's like trickling in. Sometimes if you have a dividend, it comes at the cost of growth of the stock. So sometimes if you have like those high dividend stocks, you know what I'm talking about? Those stocks, they don't grow very much. They're very stable, and then you're just riding, let's say, the 3% dividend or so. But yeah, I had one of those stocks, and I sold it, and then freaking after I sold it, like, I held on to it for 2 years. After I sold it, it went up like 30%. I'm like, so yeah, it's just like, I was so pissed off at that. I was so pissed off that it went up, and then yeah, I poured my money. I timed it wrong, right? I poured my money for some of my holdings into other holdings, and it was aggressive holding, and then it freaking tanked because the stock market, right, tech isn't doing so well. So I'm like looking at some of these holdings. I'm like, damn it dropped like 30%. Like, but it's okay. I'm holding on to it. I'm just gonna hold, and that's it. But overall, my stock portfolio, it's definitely in the positive compared to the negative. Those little investments didn't pan out, but I'm just like, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Yeah. So yeah, when I had a job, I was investing in the 401k. I did have the Roth IRA, doing I think it was like $6,000 a year, right? So I had that, but right now I'm like, I thought about it, and I stopped investing into my Roth, because I thought I don't want to wait until I hit retirement age to pull the money out. So yeah, but I still have like some money into a Roth, and I'm just holding it there forever and ever and ever and ever. We'll see where it is. Are you splitting the rent with Lewis? No, I'm not. Let's see over here. So yeah, like all that kind of stuff, like you really need to just be mindful about how your money's getting out of your pocket, or how your money's getting out of your bank account. And I encourage you guys, right? I encourage you guys, like, if you miss part of the stream, like, watch the whole entire stream. You don't have to like watch me. You can go out and like freaking clean things. You can, do the dishes. You can go cook something. You can run while you're listening to me speak. But I really hope that it does save you a lot of stress in the future. It saves you money. And I hope that you guys all have financial security, because I think the best thing in life when you're an old age, like I hope I don't pass, I hope I pass away when I'm like 90 years old or so. I hope I'm in really good health. I hope that I find myself in a place where it's like I don't worry about these kind of things at all. Like it doesn't even cross my mind, because I look at my bank account and I'm like, I'm really set. Like I'm really good. But I hope that I hope that you guys, like, if you guys are in a rut, you guys think like, yeah, make sure that you get yourself out of that rut. But you cannot do it unless you start doing changes. And don't be too hard on yourself, right? Again, like the way I am right now was not like it happened last week. I've been doing this kind of stuff since I was in high school, and I want you guys to Oh, yeah, I just keep everything in the Roth. But yeah, I don't want you guys to just like think that you gotta buy stuff. Be more minimalistic and use your funds to invest. Seriously, if you are minimalistic, you're not gonna spend your money on stuff because you can't buy stuff. Like I'm being real here, right? Minimalists have they keep items that they like, that they add value to their life, so they're not rushing for the newest bad item. They're not rushing for the that. I live a life where it's simple. It's like you can focus on the things that matter, and that's what I've chosen to go on that path. It's kind of like a relatively new path, but yeah, I used to make fun of minimalists, and now I'm like, wow, minimalism is actually great. This is great, yeah, because if you're minimalist, you're not buying too much stuff. You have less to declutter in the future, and you can use your cost savings to throw it into your investment portfolio or your investments. And if you want to invest in whatever you want, right, I hope that it's successful for you. And don't just, like I said, don't just focus about this year's gains or next year's gains or whatnot. You gotta think long term. How is your stock portfolio going to look like in 20, 30 years? And I think that for all these people who don't want to get into the stock market because they're worried about losing all their money, ease into it. Like you don't have to put in thousands of dollars at one time. You can say, okay, I'll put in $100 a week towards the stock. I buy fractional shares, and then 100, 200, $300, right? 2 years later, you'll have more money for sure. But of course, the more money you put in, the more you gain, but also the more you lose. So if you put in, let's say $100,000, right? And it drops down 10%, you lose 10. Okay, so I think I got cut off, but yeah, when you have $100,000 and it drops down 10%, you lose $10,000. But if you have $100,000 and it goes up 10%, you gain $10,000. So you don't really lose money until you cash out, in my opinion, but it takes a lot of mental fortitude, because if you have like big amount of money and you're like, crap, I lost so much money today, it's like very sobering. So I look at my stock portfolio about once a day. I know some people check out their stock portfolio once every couple weeks, but I check it about once a day. And then I'll look at my stuff and I'm like, oh, how's Amazon doing? Oh, damn it. Okay, well, whatever. But that's about it. I don't let my stock portfolio control my life, and I do want to invest more into my stock portfolio. And like the more money I funnel into it, I feel like the more chance in 20, 30 years I'll have more gains. And I really hope, and this might sound ambitious, but I really hope it like gets to a point where I have so much money in the stock portfolio that if it goes up, let's say 20% a year, I'm like, dang, that's good. I didn't even have to do anything, and it went back up. It went up. And yeah, I don't mind the idea of like working and then working towards my stock portfolio, and then just saying like, I'm gonna make my little nest egg bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then live frugally, live a life where I don't have too many items, like too many crap items, like always declutter kind of thing. And yeah, when I turn like 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, there's not, I don't, I feel like, yeah, my life just runs on autopilot. And right, if you get all these kind of good frugal habits, it will go on autopilot. It will come to you naturally, and you don't feel like it's constricting you at all. It's just like it's ingrained in your mind. It's like instinctual, it's habitual. It's like if it's so easy to go shopping every week and just charge something on the credit card, it's just as easy to say, hey, you know what, do I need that item? I don't really need that item. And try wait about 24 hours before you make a purchase. That helps me immensely. Like sometimes if I was at a shopping mall, I would look at an item and say, "Oh, this is a really cute shirt," and then I would say, you know what? If I want it, I'll come back tomorrow. 99% of the time, I don't come back. I'm like, I forgot about the shirt. So it stopped me from making a lot of stupid purchases or, impulsive purchases. And I know people could say, well, why didn't you just buy the shirt and then return it? Because that's extra work, right? I know myself very well. I'm probably not going to make the return. And that's why I said, you know what? I don't want to even purchase it. I will go out of my way to buy this thing tomorrow if I really want it. Uh, Let's see. So JP says, my problem is I will spend a week researching something to buy that I don't need. Oh, I know that type. Yeah, I know the whole research thing. Like I get kind of neurotic about researching too. But you know what? Like once you feel like you've accomplished it, right? You've done your research, you're like, oh, I did it. I'm more aware kind of thing. But yeah, you gotta just like figure out like, do you need it? Do you not need it? And just kind of have this like balance to it, right? But yeah, what was the thing that I researched that I didn't need? I don't know, like I look up a lot of decor items. I know Lewis is probably cringing, but I looked up a lot of decor items and I was like, oh man, I really like this like luxury $2,000 table. And I was like, ooh, that looks pretty. Ooh, let me look at the picture of that. And then I like go down to it. But I do this whole thing where I treat it like an art gallery. Like after I look at the pretty pictures, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't need it. We definitely don't need a $2,000 table here or $2,000 lamp, but it's fun to look at. It's really fun. I have zero problem looking at websites where they sell $20,000 statues or $40,000 statues. I almost said sandwiches, but statues. And I enjoy it. I enjoy looking at the workmanship, but I know that a $20,000 statue will not add any value to my life, right? I mean, like I will walk past the $20,000 statue and I'll say, "Dang, I could have bought a car for $20,000. Dang, I gotta make sure that that $20,000 statue stays pristine because it's $20,000. Like, I'd rather have the cash in a bank account or in my stock portfolio for sure. So yeah, okay, you guys. So Catalytic is gonna clean, and I'm gonna get going. It was really good speaking to you guys. I hope you guys pick something up, and yeah, if you are working on this kind of journey, again, I wish you the best of luck. I will be successful. You just got to stick with it. Anytime, if you guys have any questions, like leave me something in the comments, and it's like if it's a question I can answer, then I'll reply. I try to reply to my comments where they ask me questions, but yeah, that kind of stuff. I see you.